Hello, everyone. Bodies of Stories is back for another show in June, and it's going to be from now on a very international show with 6 storytellers from 6 different countries every month. And I'm very happy today to be talking to one of the storytellers who's going to be sharing a story from Norway, from Oslo, on June 13th. Hi, Gaurav. How are you?
Hello, Broom. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good, thank you. So you are in Oslo right now as we speak. It is 8 p.m. for you and 11 a.m. for me in British Columbia. So thanks for participating in the show. I'm so looking forward to people hearing your story. And I wanted to chat with you because I'm always so curious about why people tell stories and how it gets started for them. So can you tell me how it started for you? When was the first time you told a story on stage or online, and why you did it?
It was purely accidental for me. I actually wanted to try stand-up comedy, and I couldn't get a slot, so I was looking for some other thing to try. And then I found a slot at Confabulation in Montreal in 2017 May. So that was their 7th anniversary special. I had never told a story before in my life. In fact, I had never heard anyone tell a story before that. And suddenly I was in their 7th anniversary special, sharing a stage with professional storytellers, professional comedians, a Grammy Award winner. And there I was telling a story of a race that I had run in Winnipeg earlier that year in February. So that was like a 125-kilometer long race. And I was very excited about that particular race. So I always wanted to share my experiences. Being coming from India, that's pretty warm. Running a race in Winnipeg in February was extremely difficult, special for many reasons. And and I found Confabulation could be a platform where I could tell that story. So I wrote the story and met the producer. Then we discussed the different pointers. When you write the story and when you tell the story, they're different, and that's where I learned all the intricacies how uh, narrative story is told. So there we made a lot of changes in that story, and that story finally went on stage. Was very nervous. I have terrible anxiety issues, so I wanted to run away from the stage. I even ran away from the venue and then came back to tell the story, and so that was pretty special. And the experiences that I had from stage there, I think the kind of liberation that I felt after telling that story, and that adrenaline rush when I was on the stage with audiences on all 3 sides of me, and I was looking in their eyes and telling the story one step at a time. uh, I believe that really hung on to me, and I continue telling story ever since then. And then
Hmm.
pandemic happened in 2020, and everything went online. I'm missing to go back on the stage, but so far, yeah, I've made peace with telling stories to my camera over Zoom. That's where
That's
I am
great.
right now.
That's awesome. So was that at the Mainline Theater in Montreal?
Yes.
Okay, so good. That's so funny because Confabulation is also the first show that I went to just a few months later
Yeah.
in Montreal and then in Toronto. So and that's and so I went to one show and then I was like, okay, maybe I can do it. So that's also where I told my first story ever. Um, so that's cool. And so, yeah, so you kept telling stories. What would you say is essential in a story for it to have an effect on the audience?
I believe a story has to be vivid. That's what I try to make my stories as well, as much as possible. If they have an emotional connect, if I'm able to personify my feelings in that particular story to grab the attention of the audiences, it's something really important, because you have to hold that tension with the audience. Otherwise, you will lose them very quickly. It became even more important for me because I knew that when I was stepping on the stage, my accent was slightly different than what you would normally see in the Western world. So I was even more prone to losing my audience very early in that phase. And in that even happened because when I stepped on the stage at Mainline Theater for my first story, I said the first line and I was not expecting much reaction, and suddenly everybody starts laughing because they found that funny, and I forgot everything. I was just standing there blank, remembering nothing about the story at all. So that was very scary feeling. But that experience told me that I had to keep a strong hold onto my audience. So from my personal experience, I believe the more the vivid the story is, more images I can paint in your mind, the more powerful the story becomes. And that's what I try to live on to.
Hmm. I like that. Thank you. And so I want to go back a little bit earlier in your life. Would you say, you said you didn't know that people shared their stories, personal stories on stage before going to that show. And so how was it discovering that you could share something so personal?
Well, I so I had been telling about myself, but that was much restricted to very close friends, right? That's where the conversation mostly happened.
Yeah.
And if the stories were being told, I come from India, and there India has a very rich storytelling culture, but they are largely cultural stories, and they
Mm,
are mythological stories, such kinds,
right.
not the sort of personal stories and or similar sorts that you get to listen to from the stage from different shows. So when I was there in the first half as just an audience, I was performing in the second half, and I was listening to those stories, people really sharing their hearts out. That was an immensely pleasing experience for me, because I couldn't imagine earlier that people could actually step on stage and really pour their hearts out,
Mm,
and with so much passion, and audience responding right then and there. It was a powerful moment for me, and probably that's exactly what kept me hooked on to it, and I kept returning on stage after that.
yeah.
And
Uh,
also, you said you followed Montreal with Toronto. That's the same trajectory I had. I performed in May 2017 in Montreal, and then in July 2017 I was in Toronto just to tell the story.
oh, that's so great. That's cool. Okay, and so fast forward to today. How are you evolving in the storytelling world, so to speak, online? Who have you met? How is the community? Tell us about that.
Well, I have performed, like, I've lost the counts in how many different communities so far, because ever since the pandemic started, everything went online. So I was in different US storytelling circles. Toronto has a beautiful storytelling community that I got in touch with. 1001 Friday Nights, amazing place to be. Then I was already part of St. John's Storytelling Circle, which went online afterwards. And then there was a community in Ireland, Scotland, and the Netherlands, and a few of them in India as well. So I got to experience what other stories people were telling in different parts of the world. Each place had its own, folk tales. So that was the most exciting part, to get used to how similar and how different all these folk tales are from
Mhm.
different coming from different parts of the world. And I started telling stories from personal stories. Just in my first 2 3 years, I was just telling personal stories, but then I realized that I have such a rich background to really dig into, where I can bring
Mhm.
in more stories. And currently I'm working on a project, Mahabharata. So that's a 1 hour long set that I'm preparing for. It
Wow.
has 8 different segments. So right now I'm done with 4 of them, and now I'm trying at different storytelling circles how audiences perceive that, because it's a mix. It's a mix of story that I have written inspired from Mahabharata, mixed with Indian classical music where I sing with drone. So mixing these two and bringing a different identity of Mahabharata outside, that's something which currently I'm working on, and people have been so much appreciative so far, at least in Canada and Scotland, where people have got to heard the story so far.
That's so great. Good luck with that project. It's going to be
Thanks a lot.
amazing. Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned the blend of traditional stories with personal stories, because I feel like the story that you are going to tell us on the show on June 13th sort of has that traditional side, history, mythological history from India that seeped into your very personal experience that you're going to tell us about. So thank you so much for talking to me today. Is there anything that you would like to add, maybe to people who have never been to shows or who've never told a story?
Well, it's normal to have those jitters before you step on stage, or maybe a virtual stage, where you are so much focused, or you will forget that part of the story, or maybe you will miss out. You own that story, and you are the one who holds it. So absorb that, drink a lot of water, be confident, look in the camera, look at the people, and just be there. Stories will flow by themselves, and that's how they are supposed to be.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Thanks, Gaurav. I will see you on June 13th for the show.
Yep.
Bye.
Thank you.